Joseph Mink man is in the house, man. You're a very popular guy. When it comes to the minks, how do they help for as a biological solution to a chemical problem, I would say? Give your dog the best start possible. We offer proven tools, products, and supplements backed by our real world experience and our passion for healthy dogs.
Welcome to NWA Cane Corsos podcast, where we talk all things dogs.
I'm the true champion, and they make me the underdog. I'm gonna show them all they're wrong because I'm the champion. I'm the real champion. There'll never be one like me.
Welcome back to the NWA Cane Corsos show. Joseph Mink man is in the house, man. You're a very popular guy.
Thanks for having me.
Man, I sure do appreciate you. I was doing a little research on you. I saw that you was a different kind of kid. You know what I mean?
I'm different, that's for sure.
You wind up having to go stay with your grandfather and things like that.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So, what you mean, like when I went to live with my grandfather specifically? You mean?
Well, why did you go there?
Why? Why? So I grew up in a very a good family, solid parents, solid siblings, and I was the one and only rebel. I actually have 8 little brothers and 1 little sister.
Oh wow, okay.
And I'm the oldest.
Oh really?
And somehow they all turned out great, but I had a rough start.
yeah. I was rebel too. Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And it's amazing. You think that me being the first, I would have possibly inspired some others, but they all stayed straight, and I was the one hellion.
Yeah.
We lived in the suburbs of Chicago, and where we lived in particular, there were a lot of people from the ghettos would send their kids to our town to try and get them out of that rough life.
Oh,
and
really?
so it was a mixture. It was kind of a clash of two worlds. It was a very, very suburban neighborhood with a lot of very urban-minded kids mixed in, if that makes any sense.
Right. Yeah, I understand.
And I kind of connected more with the urban ghetto culture than the suburban culture. I didn't really fit in with anyone, to be honest. I was a very different person. I was obsessed with animals, very headstrong, do things my way. I don't care what anyone else thinks or does. I do my way.
Right.
And I guess that kind of rebel attitude fit more with the urban kind of ghetto mentality, I guess. That's just my guess. I don't know.
Right. I got you.
I moved a lot as a kid. I went to, 5 different elementary schools, one middle school, and then multiple high schools. And I'm a really little guy. I'm only 5'6". So every time I went to a new school, I kind of had to prove myself. And not kind of, I totally had to
do it. Yeah.
And I was the type that would. I wasn't the type that would back down or take crap from someone. I'd rather get beat up and learn their respect than to, avoid injury and be pushed around. That was my mentality. I was like, you want to beat me up? Let's go. Beat me up.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you regret beating me up. You may win, but you're going to hurt for it.
Yeah.
And that was my mentality. I think that was probably why I connected with the kind of rougher crowd, even despite my very religious and peaceful upbringing. Kind of my attitude.
But let me ask you this, Joseph. That seemed like like you had a lot of drive, like determination. Do you think that you just kind of redirected that energy into something else that with your animals and things like that?
Yeah. So once I got out of that kind of ghetto culture surrounding, um, yeah, I just didn't have anywhere else to fuel it, and so it just went straight into animals. Pretty much, that's a very good way of thinking it, of pointing it out. Yeah, I
Right.
went into once I moved out of that scenario and was in the middle of nowhere.
Hmm.
I was with my grandfather in Idaho at the time, and he's a horse trainer, and he trained cattle dogs, but not for people, just for his own uses. But he trained horses for people. Specifically, they're called cow cutting horses. Most people probably doesn't know what that means, but it's basically a cattle horse competition kind of thing.
Right.
And so I worked with him training horses all day long, and then trained my own cattle dog just like he did. And that's what I did all day, every day from 15 on.
Oh,
And
really?
then when I was 16, I believe it was, anyway, somewhere around there, pretty soon after moving out with them, I started falconry. And that was a desire I had, from about age 12, but my father wouldn't permit it. He was like, no, we're not having a hawk. But
So you read a lot too, I noticed. I think I remember you saying you used to go to the library and you just dig into things.
oh, I was
Yeah.
obsessed with reading. So that was part of what made me not really fit in with anyone, because that's not a normal. I wasn't your typical nerd because I was really outdoorsy and really like aggressive. Most nerds are kind of passive. I was like, what?
Right.
You want to talk crap with me? I'd rather you punch me in the mouth than say something mean. Come punch me in the mouth. Whereas
Right.
most nerds are passive.
Mhm.
I wasn't scared of getting hurt, and I was tiny, a little man syndrome, like crazy. Like I said, I'm 5'6" now, but when I was young, I was a late starter, so I was even smaller.
Yeah.
I was in middle school at one point. I think it was either 6th or 7th grade. I weighed 60 pounds.
Wow. What?
It was either 6th or 7th grade. I don't remember which. I was 4'6" and 60 pounds, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I was obsessed with animals, and I wanted to learn about them in any way that I could, whether it was in real life, like observing them myself and doing little studies and stuff, or reading. I was just obsessed with it. And yeah, I would literally go to the library and be so excited to read the books that I found. I would read them while riding my bike home because I couldn't wait to get home.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know how I didn't wreck, but I
Right.
almost did, I'm sure, several times. But I'd have the book down, I'd read a little and then see where I'm going and read a little. The old time version of texting and driving,
Right. And being that how culture is now, it's your phone is always in your face. It's always some type of noise. In my house, the TV never hardly comes on because my wife, she comes from a real religious background, so they didn't have TV. So, and then I kind of learned to appreciate that piece. But today, I was checking on a litter I'm having, and just sitting out there with her as the puppy's fed and getting a chance to read. Man, it's like almost a peaceful thing now, man. Just
Yeah.
yeah. You still
Times
do a lot of reading?
changed. I don't read much anymore. That
Okay.
used to be an obsession of mine, and now
Uh-huh.
it's like I hardly do it. I
Yeah.
kind of make myself, but I don't
Right.
choose to do it the way I used to.
Yeah. Well, we couldn't bring you here without asking you about this one topic. Man, what is minkery?
Minkery. There's a little mink right there.
Yeah.
So it's a goofy term I made up, and a goofy sport, if you want to call it, I made up. But I don't know that you could call it a sport when you're like the only guy doing it. So
Mhm.
it's a goofy pastime I made up. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And real quick, let me ask you: could you hear my dog? She's like making.
Yeah,
all these
I wanted to ask you, what was that noise?
Mindy, come sit up and quit. She got on a bunch of coons, and she's licking herself clean.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's an American Pit Bull Terrier there.
Yep,
Yep.
purebred.
Yep. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. Yeah.
So yeah, she went out and caught last night. She caught 3 raccoons, and we got home before 9:30.
Oh, wow.
Heck, we even left one in the tree because I was like, nah, man, you're going to be too sore tomorrow.
Right.
We have to go hunting next week. So let's leave that one in the tree and keep going.
Hey, what state you live in now?
I'm in Utah.
Utah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Utah. Yes. So when it comes to the minks, and I don't this may be a hobby for you, but I think it's a job too. But
it is.
How do they help for as a biological solution to a chemical problem? I would say, with the rodents, they carry a lot of diseases and things like that. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, so I mean, it all started out fun and games. There was no intent on making a business out of it. I was just enjoying myself. I was doing two things. I was catching things with my mink, and then I was making videos of my training methods and hunting experiences with my mink. Because as far as I can tell, I was the first guy to do it. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to be doing this, I should document it. And a lot better than writing it down, I could video it and show exactly what I'm doing and share it with others.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would basically, I started back in 2008 filming my little training methods and raising methods of the mink. And then as time went on, people started finding out that, I could catch and kill pests, namely rats, with my mink. And I was just doing it for fun. And they're like, well, can you come and help me? I've got a problem. I'll pay you some money. And I'm like, sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't even ask for money at first. They were offering it to me. Well, we've paid these guys all this money and they've never got rid of the rat. If you can get rid of this rat, we'll give you $100.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, $100, that's a lot of money to go have fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd go show up, and the first paying job I remember, there might have been one before this, but I don't believe so. It's the first one I remember anyway. This man and his wife, and they had a rat that was living right in their house, and it had been there for months, and they could hear it because rats are big old animals to be in your house. It's not like a little mouse.
Oh yeah.
They could hear it in the walls, and the wife couldn't sleep because she had like paranoia with it. It was like, it was like stressing her out. And they, hired people and set their own traps and put out their own baits, and nothing to got rid of this rat. And they'd had it for months. And so they found out about me through a mutual friend, I believe. And they called me and said, they offered me money. Like I said, this is my first paying job as far as I can remember. They said, we'll give you $100 if you can catch it. So, oh yeah, I think I could catch it. So I showed up, turned my mink loose in their living room. It walked around sniffing, and it went up to a place they didn't even expect the rat to be. They went up in their kitchen, went right in their little pantry, and lo and behold, there was a hole right in the wall that they didn't know about because it was back behind some bags of potatoes or something. It was hidden, and the rat had chewed a hole in the wall. They had no idea it was there. Mink went right in and killed it, and I, in less than 15 minutes, made myself $100.
Really?
And, I was pretty proud of myself. $15 or 15 minutes for $100. That's awesome.
Yeah. I do that right now.
So it started from there. More and more people started finding out about me and what I do. I of course continued filming what I was doing to document it. And little by little, the two things started making me money. The YouTube started paying me for because I was getting enough views. That was many years into it. That was 2012, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. So I've been filming and my stuff for like 4 years at that point. Yeah. And someone told me, hey, you could get paid doing this. I'm like, how do you get paid putting videos on? What do you mean? I'm like, oh yeah. And they showed me how, because I had to have them walk me through it because I didn't know how to set it up.
Yeah.
And I got it all set up, and then all of a sudden I'm making a little bit of money every month. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I'm getting the pest control, here and there every now and then, another job, and I get paid for that. And then just little by little, the two, without me planning on it at all, I was just enjoying myself and getting paid for it. At that point, it wasn't a business in my mind. It was, oh, this is cool. I'm being compensated to have fun. So all of my fun is now break even, was the way I saw it. Right. It's not like it's not making me money, but it's not costing me any money. Most people's hobbies, I remember I was quite proud of myself. I was like, most people's hobbies cost them money. Right. My hobbies break even. I never really pay for anything. It's all the gas and I'm not making money doing it, but hey, most people pay to play whatever sport or activity,
right?
Video games, whatever they're into.
Yeah.
I was pretty proud of that. But as time went on, it just snowballed up to where I was like, well, why am I even working this job? I'm making significantly more it was mostly videos. The pest control side has always been very side hustle type money, not serious income, but just a side hustle. It's nice to have, but you sure couldn't live off of. But the YouTube blew up to where it was a very comfortable, considerably more than what I was making at my job income. And so I eventually, after it had done that for a year, because I didn't want to just bail on my job and then find out YouTube crumbles the next day.
Right.
So I waited for a year and did both. And man, that was really hard. I was really hard on my family. They barely saw me. I was always doing something. And then about a year into it, I said, okay, well, let's go full time.
Yeah. The first years of starting a business, stepping out on something is really tough. A lot of sacrifice, hard on the family. I remember them days, boy. It was rough. But fortunately, I was able, when I started my company, I was able to take my children with me. That was the best thing. So when you were getting these jobs and things like that, what kind of jobs were they? Was it more like farms mostly?
In the beginning, it was mostly residential stuff.
Okay.
So we've got a rat in our chicken coop, or we've got a rat in our, like I said, in their wall or their ceiling or whatever. That was most of the jobs to begin with. I did get a job with a park. So a city was paying me to catch the rats. That was my longest running paying job, is a park downtown that has a little stream flowing through it. And they've got brown rats because everyone feeds the ducks. And then they've got muskrats just because it's muskrat habitat. And the two animals both just wreak havoc. And so I go in and catch them and keep them both under control. There's no way to completely remove them because of the river and the location. There's always going to be new rats moving in. So it's pretty much a monthly gig. I go out once a month is the contract. Basically, I'll go out once a month and they'll pay me every time I show up.
How many rats do you normally exterminate on that once a month trips?
Very, very little.
Okay.
It's basically maintenance.
Oh, maintenance, keeping them down.
Yeah. It's pretty much I get a rat or two or three,
okay.
Or none.
Oh, okay.
None isn't common. Usually there's at least one to get.
Right.
Yeah, the first day I did it, before I was even being paid, I got 10. So I mean, it's a drastic difference from where it used to be. Right. But nowadays, it's like if I catch more than 2 or 3, it's like, whoa, we got a big. Which it happens sometimes. I mean, sometimes there's still days when I get 6, but it's very uncommon.
So even though those sound like small numbers, when you're talking about mice, rats, things like that, what do they reproduce? How many babies do they have on average per litter?
So a brown rat, what people call Norway rats sometimes, or city rats or sewer rats or whatever you want to call them, barn rats. The common brown rat is what I like to call them. They have typically between like 6 and 8 babies in a litter is a norm. Sometimes it's less than that. I mean, they could have over 10 potentially. I've seen as many as like 16 in captivity, but in the wild, I don't know that I've ever seen more than like 11 or 12 tops. I don't even know that I've seen 12, but something just over 10 is about their limit. But normally it's 6 to 8, but they can have them every 3 weeks. So because they have a 3-week gestation.
Okay.
And the female can get pregnant within the first 24 hours of giving birth. And so if she does that, if she gets pregnant immediately, which they can physically, I mean, assuming she's healthy and stuff, eating good food, then she could give birth, raise up those babies at about 3 to 4 weeks. They're ready to go. And she's given birth again. And then she could potentially, doesn't mean she will, but she could get pregnant right again. Boom. And then 3 weeks later, 3 weeks later, 3 weeks later. Now, obviously, in the real world, things don't go that perfectly, right? She's going to lose entire litters. She's going to skip breedings. She's going to die at age 4 months. So she'll only have one litter. You know what I mean? Like in the real world, that doesn't happen. But potentially in an ideal, unrealistic world, she could have a litter of, let's say, 7 babies every 3 weeks for an entire year. Well, not for an entire year. Well, almost a year. Because they start having babies. That's the other thing. Those little females, they can start getting pregnant somewhere between 9 and 12 weeks old. And so right before they're fully grown, they're still quite little at that age. But it takes 3 weeks for them to give birth. And in that 3 weeks, they grow quite a bit. And by the time they give birth, they're not fully grown, but they're mostly grown. And then they'll, have that litter. They can get pregnant and blah, 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 blah. I mean,
wow.
They can breed really fast. The reality is, though, a hawk comes in and eats the mom, and then the half-starved babies, like a couple of them survive. And, I mean, they're the real world. They never reproduce that fast.
Right.
For example, I went to a farm that had 1,200 rats. Or no, was it 1,200? No. It was just over 1,000. Sorry, it was like 1,087 or 63 or something like that. Just under 1,100, over 1,000. And we went and caught them in 5 days. It took us 5 days of work to catch that many rats. And they had some remainders. We don't know how many. Was it a dozen? Was it 3 dozen? Was it 4? I don't know. But it took those, whatever they were, another 4 years before they were back in those numbers again. So if you sat and did the math on a calculator, you'd be like, oh, well, only one female survived. They should be back up to 1,000 within, 9 months or whatever the math is. I don't know what the math is. Like 2 years, some really small number. Well, reality is it took them 4 years to get up that high.
Wow. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Because you do have the natural predators. If it's on a farm, I would hope they got cats because they wouldn't be using poison.
Cats don't help at all.
They don't?
No. They might help with like little mice, but cats don't like anything that really fights back. Now, are there weird individual cats that will? Sure. There's exceptions to every rule. But in general, cats are not
them big rats.
No. And they might kill like a baby rat here and there, but those are the expendable ones. Right. Killing the babies doesn't really help the population control at all. They need to kill the big adult breeders to do any kind of population control. They could kill babies all day long, and they're just kind of maybe slowing the growth, but not really. They need to kill the adult breeders. And I've got a guy that he has me out once a year, every year, and he traps, he shoots, and he has a cat. And he still needs me to come back every single year. And the last time I went there, I think I caught like 30 rats at his place, and I'd been there a year before.
Oh, wow.
And like he's got a cat, a live-in cat.
Yeah. So
you can see, and his cat does catch some of the babies. Yeah. But he'll be the first to tell you, catching those babies doesn't do much because, like I just explained with the rat math, they're very replaceable.
Right.
And as soon as they get to be adults, their chance of dying is drastically reduced. So once they get to that adult size, their ability to just pop babies out, pop, and they'd be a little baby machine. And all they need is one other female to all of a sudden reach adulthood. And then they've got 2 machines popping them out, pop. And then just one more female make it. Now they got 3 popping them out, pop. Yeah. And the cats aren't doing anything because they're just picking off the young ones that are probably going to die anyway.
Right. The little manufacturers. Yeah.
Because even the rats themselves will kill those young ones. Like
they'll eat on each other. Yeah.
Oh, they love eating each other. And as soon as their population gets very, this is how you know a population is at its peak level. It's when you go through and you don't find any babies or very few babies.
Oh, they're eating them all. Yeah.
Because they've reached their max capacity. And as soon as the babies are popped out, the males are just sitting there waiting to eat them. It's like it's like a chicken and her eggs. Like they're eaten within days because you don't even find a nest. You'll go through and kill 1,000 rats and find like 4 babies. And you're like, how in the world is that possible? Well, they're giving birth every 3 weeks and they're immediately being consumed. And then they give birth 3 weeks later and they're immediately being consumed. So once they get to their max capacity, there is no reproduction. The females will sometimes, and where you do find babies, when you find them, they're off on the outskirts. They're like in the forest next to the chicken coop, in the wood pile, like on the other side of the farm, where the mom managed to escape, go have her babies in peace away from the rat main population.
I could see you running into quite a few amount of snakes.
I have never run into snakes. I think the rats eat them.
Really?
I've never run into a snake on a rat infestation.
Yeah, we're talking about big rats. Yeah.
And you have to realize too, a snake, he eats 1 or 2 rats. If he's a really big snake, 3 rats, and he's full for like a week. It takes at least a couple days for him to digest a full meal. In the most ideal of situations, he might digest it in like 3 or 4 days. What's he going to do in that 3 or 4 day time? He's going to be eaten alive by the other rats.
Right.
If you've ever had a pet snake and maybe that snake wasn't hungry for some reason and you put a rat in there, everybody knows what happens. A live rat, everybody knows what happens when that rat is running around with that snake. He starts eating the snake. And anyone who's had snakes for very long would know they've had that accident happen. They put a rat in when the snake wasn't hungry, or maybe the heater went out and they didn't realize that the snake was cold, so he didn't feel like eating it. Whatever, something weird happened. Snake was feeling sick, or maybe he's getting a little fat and he didn't feel like eating yet. And they leave a live rat in there and they'll come back and their snake's just mauled from that one single rat. So you can imagine when it's not one single rat, it's like dozens of rats.
Yeah.
That snake comes in, gulps a couple down, and then gets eaten alive by the rest.
Right. But
and that's just my assumption. I have no proof or evidence for that.
It makes sense though.
It's just I've never seen a snake once in a rat infestation. Not once. Not any species of any size.
Yeah, it makes sense because that'll be a little bit too much for a snake.
So my very first job, the one I described with the park, I actually got kicked out of the park. So I was there hunting with my mink and catching rats, and some male Karen comes along. He's like, you're not supposed to harass the wildlife, because there was a sign on there, no harassing wildlife. And I'm like, it's no wildlife, it's a freaking rat. Well, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, just a stupid male Karen. Anyway, so I'm like, well, if you have such a big problem with it, why don't you call the police? Because you have no jurisdiction, you have no authority. So I don't freaking care what your opinion is. If you want something to happen, call the police, because I'm not going to listen to you, dude. And so I just kept doing my thing, kept hunting. And so he called the police, and the police showed up. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And they're like, well, technically the sign doesn't. I'm like, you're really gonna punish me for picking up garbage? Oh, okay. Are you gonna go and you're not supposed to be in the river? Yeah, I'm picking up garbage. Yeah, but stay out of the river. Like, seriously, this is what you're gonna do to me? Like, right. It says no waiting. Here I am picking up garbage, and you're gonna punish me for it because the sign says no waiting. Yeah. Well, I'm just here to enforce the laws. And I'm like, well, you may enforce the laws, but you don't make the laws. Who's in charge here? Because you're being completely unreasonable. And I wasn't that attitude with them. It was a police officer. I was more polite than that. But I was very blunt and straightforward. I'm like, you clearly don't make the laws. Who does? Give me their number. Let me call them. And so not the laws, but the regulations in the book.
Right.
So they give me the number, and I call them up, and I'm like, look, I'm out here doing a service to the community, catching rats, and you've got your officers here kicking me out. What can we do to make this right? And they're like, well, we've had problems with those rats for years, and we haven't been able to get rid of them. I'd love it if you'd hunt them, but I need to talk to the attorney for the city, and I'll get back to you. And I said, okay, great. So they talked to the attorney, and of course, what's an attorney going to do? Anytime anything is brought up, it's a liability.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that little kid's chewing gum. That's a liability. We got to make it illegal to chew gum. Like, freaking attorneys, everything's a liability, right? Yeah. So the attorney just tells him, no, it's a liability. And he comes back to me with that. He's like, man, he's kind of apologetic and nice. He wasn't being rude at all. He's like, oh man, I'm sorry. They say it's a liability. We can't have you doing that. And I'm like, okay. So tell me this then. Why is it you can pay a guy to do what I'm doing for free, but I'm not allowed to do it for free? And he was like taken back. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I found your smoke bombs. Someone's been stuffing smoke bombs in those rat burrows. But guess what? They're not working. I caught 10 rats yesterday. They're not working. And he's like, you're right. It's not working. I'm like, so why is it you can pay that guy to go put smoke bombs down the hole, but I can't do it with my mink for free when my method works and his doesn't? He's like, well, get a business license and I'll hire you. And he was just trying to get me to like drop it. Right.
Right.
But as you could probably tell from this conversation so far, I'm not the one, I'm not the type to just drop it. So I went and got a business license and I came back and he's like, whoa, you're actually serious.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and he's like stammering because he didn't expect to ever hear from me again. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, well, let me meet you at the park. Show me what you do. And we could talk. And so he shows up at the park. I put my mink down a hole. Big old giant rat comes out, kills it. Boom. It was beautiful because hunting doesn't always work that way. Man, there's times when you don't see anything, right?
Right.
Or you see it and it escapes or something, you know.
Right.
But it was just beautiful. The biggest, fattest rat you've ever seen come right out of the hole, caught, killed, done. And he'd been there like 5 minutes. And couldn't have been a better advertisement for my services if he asked for it. And he's like, wow, that's freaking awesome. He's like, you've got the job. And so he fired whoever they had hired to do it, and they hired me, and I've had the job ever since. So that might have been what you were thinking of. I'm not really sure.
I think it's something I've heard something like that. But I think I made it bigger than what it was.
Yeah, that's how stories go, right?
Right,
they get a little twisted, a little changed.
Yeah. By the time it reaches to me, it's gonna be real big. But let me ask you this: we're gonna get into dogs in a minute, but I want to stay on the mink just for a second. When you talk about the mink and you know about American Pit Bull Terriers, gameness, what is a mink's mentality? Is it more of a meanness, or is it just is it a mental durability? What's the mind of a mink like to you?
So mink are very, very different from dogs, specifically game bred, gritty bred dogs. You know, terriers, bulls and bull breeds and terrier breeds. They are nothing like that at all. Mink are like so dogs are like brawlers, like those types that I just described. Terriers, whether it's Patterdale or Jack Russell or whatever, or a bully breed, working bully breed, not these ugly show dogs that they call bulls, but working bulls and working terriers. They're just brawlers. They go in swinging like Mike Tyson, expecting to get punched right back, but they don't care because they're going to punch harder. That's how they think and act most of the time, with some exceptions. Mm-hmm. Mink, they're like Jackie Chan. They punch everyone and no one ever punches them. Mm-hmm. And the minute they get punched, they're like, oh, I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all.
Yeah,
I got to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Okay.
Now what they do at that point depends on the mink. If it's a weak-minded mink, they're done. I'm not playing that game anymore. I don't like rats or muskrats or whatever bit them, squirrels. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go find something that doesn't bite me back. If they're a real determined mink, they're like, ooh, that hurt. I don't like that. How can I make sure that doesn't happen again while still killing this animal? So it really just depends on the individual. And then you've got a third mink that no one ever really hears about. And that's the one that looks at the muskrat and says, that looks scary. I'm going to go eat minnows. And there are mink out there that are literally scared of ducks. Right. They see a duck and the duck runs away and they're like, oh, I can catch you. And the duck turns around and goes quack, quack. And they go, oh, you're scary. And they swim away. I have literally watched mink being punked by chickens, ducks, like some of the most harmless things, bunnies. I've seen a mink punked by a bunny. So not all mink are these like tough, confident, go in and kill them. Now on the other end of the extreme, I've seen feral cats done. I've seen obviously muskrats. They're a big, formidable, aggressive, boom, done. Like so there's a wide range I have mink that try and eat my dog. I've seen mink grab my sheep and hang on it like a little bulldog trying to kill the sheep. And once he got thumped, he's like, well, I don't like that. I'm not going to fight the sheep anymore. But he tried. The fact that he even tried is crazy.
Yeah.
So I found that because of this wide range of personality types, the I'm scared, I'll never try, the I'm brave until I get hurt, and the I'm brave all the time, I just get more careful, I don't quit. Those are the type I'm looking for, that third type. And so because of the wide range, and you never know what you're going to end up with, I started breeding mink so that I could get more of the type I need, which is I don't like that, but instead of quitting, I'm going to find a way around it and still hunt muskrats or squirrels or whatever it is, rats that we're hunting.
And I bet you breed to never turn that down. You don't never. I bet you don't even put nothing slightly lesser than, huh?
Sometimes I do. So there are, just like, I don't know how much you've dug into bulldog breeding. Bulldog, I mean game bred pit bulls. There's a whole list of traits that a dog man in that world would be looking for. It's not just gameness. You could have, and there are guys that obsess about gameness, but they're not winning, because there takes more than just gameness. You need gameness, you need intelligence, you need mouth, you need wind, you need strength. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole list of things that you need, and gameness is one of them, and it might be the most important one, but it's not the only one, because if you've got a game plug, you're just handing money out to other people. Now, I'm not in that world at all. I just have studied it and have an interest in it. I stay as clean nosed as I can.
Yeah, you got to. Yeah, you better.
But I understand the concept, and I understand what they're trying to achieve with their breeding projects. And so with the mink, it's a similar thing. If I have basically a game plug in my instance, it might be just dumb as a post, slow and awkward, have poor health. That's one of the things that's really struggles with mink, because they're not a very healthy, hardy animal. They get sick really easy and die really easy. So you want to breed for better health. You want to breed for more intelligent, more athletic, things like that.
Oh, the total package.
Yeah. And so what I'll end up doing to kind of create my line is I'll take what I call gritty. I don't like to use the word game because it doesn't apply to mink. They aren't game. They get hurt, they quit. That's not. They just avoid getting hurt really, really, really good. Like I've got a mink right now that's my best muskrat hunter. He's been injured bad enough that I've seen it and knew he was injured twice, and I've had him for 2 years. Spark.
Okay.
He's been hunting muskrats for 2 years, and he's had 2 injuries that I was aware of. I'm sure there's probably some bite I didn't know about. It was so small I didn't notice it, or maybe I wasn't paying attention for some reason. But as far as I'm aware of it, he's only had 2. Out of that, 100 muskrats he's killed, I have no idea how many he's killed. So they're really, really good at avoiding injury. They're just spectacular at it. But of course, if you do something long enough, something bad's going to go wrong, and then that's when you find out what kind of mink you have. The one day he slips up and gets cut, does he quit or does he come back for more? And that's what helps you decide whether you're going to breed that mink, because eventually he's going to slip up and maybe he will never come back from it, and then you got a useless mink at that point.
Okay, so Spark, is he your best ever mink?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And he's like 4th generation. I don't know, I'd have to go look at his pedigree. 4th generation my breeding. And he's where all of the traits come together. And I wouldn't say in perfection, right? He could maybe be a little more gritty or a little more confident or a little more this, but not by much. He's really a complete package. And I've had complete packages or almost complete packages before where there's like, oh, well, they got one weakness, I don't really know what his weakness would be, other than I guess his weakness is he's not very patient with me. He gets mad at me, but I don't care about that. If he wants to bite me, he can bite me. I care about working traits, like him being friendly. That's just a bonus. And it's not a bonus I'm really very concerned about. So I guess that would be his only flaw. If I was to say he has a flaw, he's a little bit of a jerk with me. He gets impatient and wants to bite me. And I'm like, dude, chill out. And he's like, and he's like hissing at me and snatching at me. I'm like, dude, chill out. I'm just trying to put the collar on you. Will you relax? But I'll live with that. I'll take that all day long. Because he's really smart. He works with me which is not a normal trait for mink. They're not dogs. They're so stubborn. You're like trying to show them where the muskrat is, and they won't even come look because they're like, "Nah, I know better than you." They're like a teenager, right? You're like trying to help your kid learn how to ride a bike or whatever. And he's like, "No, Dad, I know how to do it." And he won't take any advice from you. You know what I mean? Like that's what mink are like. And you're like, "Look, I see the muskrat. It's right here. I'm not lying to you." "No, I don't believe you." And they'll just keep doing whatever they're doing.
Right.
"I can smell it. It's over here." "No, but I can see it. It's right here." Whatever they're thinking, they just, I don't trust you. Well, Spark, he got from his dad an unusual trait, which is a very easy and I guess biddable would be a way to put it if you use dog terms. A very biddable mentality where he's like, "Oh, do you see something? Let me come check it out." And he just trusts that you actually see something and he'll listen to you. He's very smart and able to work on his own too, though. So he's not just like following you around, waiting for you to show him stuff. He can work on his own independently. He's very confident. He's been bitten twice very severely and gone right in after killed the muskrat that bit him. They didn't quit. They sliced him up and he crunched their head. He didn't quit. And then when you take him out again, he was more than happy to go find more. So he's, from what I could tell, as complete a package as I've ever had. Oh, and then another trait that's really rare is he'll bring it back to you. And that's something that I train. Really? It's not like he just did it on his own. It took a lot of effort on my part, but there's a lot of mink that you could put the effort in and they still refuse to consistently bring it back to you, no matter what you do. No matter how many years you put into it, that mink's just going to give you the middle finger and do his own thing, drag the muskrat off in some hole,
So what's the reward on them coming back? Is it raw food or what?
Yeah, so I teach them to not eat what they kill. And I take what they kill and I grind it up so it's really easy for them to eat. And it's got the whole animal in there. There's fur and bones and organs and the whole animal all mixed up. But it's so much easier to eat that way. When they have to eat a whole animal, especially if it's like a big animal, like a muskrat, they have to sit and chew and chew and chew and chew. And every little bite they swallow is after lots of effort of gnawing on the carcass. Whereas ground meat, it's just like, gulp, 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 gulp. And it's really easy. And so I teach them, hey, don't chew into that. Come over here and I'll give you this.
Yeah, this is easier.
This is easier. And I teach my mink two different ways. One group is really easy to teach. It's kill, 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 and then come back and I'll feed you. That's really easy to teach. And they'll just leave whatever they kill, wherever they kill it, and move on and find something else to kill. That's super, super easy to teach. And you can learn that within like a couple weeks and never look back. The really, really difficult thing is to teach them, okay, kill when you got it. Now bring it back to me and then I'll feed you. And man, it's just such a hard concept for them to understand and want to do. They either want to eat it or they want to leave it. They don't want to bring it to you. That's the last thing they want to do. So anyway, there are some mink that are more predispositioned to do that. It's easier to teach them. And there are other mink that are absolutely impossible. You'll never get it done. And then most mink are somewhere in between, right?
Right.
And Spark is on the easy end of the spectrum.
Okay.
Whereas my last mink that I called my best mink ever, his name was Boone, he was on the hard end of the spectrum. He just never really got it, never really consistently brought it back. I could be right there in front of him. He's sitting in the mud. There's no reason to take it somewhere else. And he still gives me the middle finger, grabs that muskrat and goes swims off. It's like, dude, we've been doing this your whole life, every day. Why can't you just comply? But in every other way, he was equal, I would say, or similar at least in Spark's abilities. But that one flaw he had was he just wouldn't bring it back. Not consistently anyway.
Right.
And Spark does. Now, I say that the last two hunts, I've had some problems where I'm pretty sure he killed a muskrat and left it in the hole. So he's not perfect, but I mean, he's way better than most mink in that regard, bringing it back. And then he's awesome in every other category. Maybe not the best in every category, for sure not, but he's pretty dang high. I don't know what you'd put him at, an 8 or a 9 or something like that in every category.
Oh,
and that's
okay.
pretty, and maybe that's a little high. Maybe it's a 7 or 8, or I don't know.
That's still pretty good for overall to be overall.
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
So you the only one that probably can handle these animals, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got one that my daughter and I can both handle. She raised him, and I kind of helped her. And he just happened to like us both. A lot of times when you raise a mink, and when I say raise, I mean you get them from a baby and bottle raise them. When you bottle raise a baby mink, they tend to only like one person, and it's usually the person that puts the most time into them, though that's not always the case. Boone, that mink I was just mentioning, who didn't want to bring it back but was good in every other category, he was funny because we were raising several babies at the same time, and I was trying to pick which one I wanted to put the time into as they mature. And I picked one, and my wife picked another, and she picked Boone. And Boone didn't really like her for some reason. He liked me. And she put in probably 90% of the work, and I put in maybe 10%, something like that. And he still preferred me. And I was like, this makes no sense at all. Why do you like me, Mink? Like, I barely handle you. I barely do anything. She puts in all the time. But for some reason, he just was like, you're my man. and I was like, okay. And he ended up being the better of the two kits, in my opinion, from what I could tell when they were little. And so I said, okay, well, I'll start raising you, because
you said something. I caught something. You said kits. So that's the word for baby minks?
Yeah, kits.
Okay, kits. All right.
Baby mink are kits. The bucks are the males, and the does are the females.
Okay. And before I ask you, I'm gonna get on some dog questions here in a minute, because I know you love some dogs too. Y'all all work together. But the mink family, is that the correct terminology? Is it a rodent family, or how does that work?
No, so they're in the weasel family.
Weasel family, okay.
And so they're related to, it's like within the weasel family, the broad family are things like mink, obviously mink and weasels, ferrets, otters, badgers, wolverines, fishers, martens, the infamous honey badger, of course.
Honey badger, yeah.
All of those are in the broad family of the weasel family. But if you were to narrow it down, mink are more closely related to like weasels, pretty much.
Weasels. Okay.
That's their kind of closer relatives, are the weasels. Though they're semi-aquatic, they're not very closely related to otters. I mean, of course, they're all within the same broad family, but closer, they're more like a semi-aquatic weasel than like a semi-terrestrial otter. Otters are real specialists in the water. I like to say, my little saying for mink is, they're a jack of all trades, master of one. And I know the saying is supposed to be master of none, but they are a master of one trade, and that's hunting muskrats. But all the other trades, they're a jack of all trades. So like a weasel, they can hunt on land for things like mice or rats or squirrels or chipmunks or rabbits, things like that. But they're not quite as good at it as the specialist weasel. Like an otter, they can hunt for aquatic prey, like crayfish and fish and minnows and frogs and things like that, like an otter. But they're not as good as the specialist otter is at like chasing down fish, and like they don't have all the special adaptations an otter has, like fully webbed feet and shields for their eyes, so they can close their eyes underwater, and big specialized whiskers and all these things that otters have, the ability to hold their breath for a very, very prolonged period. All those specialties, a big rudder-like tail, all those special adaptations that an otter has that makes them so good at swimming, mink lack pretty much all of them, other than the waterproof coating. But I would say even their coats aren't as waterproof as an otter's. But if you put a weasel in the water, he's going to get wet and cold immediately, and he's not going to dive underwater and catch a fish like a mink can. You put an otter on land and say, hey, go catch that bunny, and they're like, dude, I can barely go anywhere. They're all awkward and slow,
Yeah.
So the mink can kind of bridge the gap. They dive in the water, catch fish, crayfish, frogs, things like that. They run up on land, catch the rabbits, the squirrels, the mice, and they could even climb trees.
I was just about to ask you about that.
Yeah, nowhere near as good as like a marten. Martens are way better tree climbers, but you compare a mink to an otter. Otter can't climb a tree at all, right? But they aren't particularly good tree climbers, but they can and they will.
Gotcha. Hey, y'all, this man is deep. I had to really narrow this down, and I can go either way with him. We ain't even gonna get in the falconry, but unless he wants to. But this guy, man, is got a lot of information. But let's get into the canines and the bulldogs and things like that. When did you start to get into the bulldog? When did it first start interest you and things?
So I, as a kid growing up, I couldn't have a dog. We always were like renting and like moving places and stuff. And so I never could have a dog, and I always wanted a dog.
Mm-hmm.
I was always obsessed with animals, but I really wanted a dog. And I kind of thought of the dog. He could be my little partner in crime. Like we're out looking for animals to catch, and that dog could like track them down and like show me where the animals are hiding. And I had all these dreams, some of which were realistic, some of which were silly, Disney style ridiculousness. But I had all these like I was obsessed with raccoons, like as a pet, I was like, oh, I could teach the dog to go find a raccoon, and then I could get me a baby raccoon, and then we could go, trudging through the woods with my pet raccoon and dog, all these silly ideas, And I like catching turtles, and my dog could sniff out the turtles. That was something that was realistic, right? Go sniff out it was box turtles, so they're on the land, right? Go sniff out the box turtles, and we'd catch turtles together. And I had all these dreams of the fun things I would do with my dog, but I never could have a dog.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when I moved out at age 15 to live with my grandfather, that was the first thing I did. I think I was living with my grandfather like for 3 months, and I had a dog, maybe even less than that. It might've been like a month and a half, 2 months, and I had a dog. Like it was that quick. But my first dog was a cow dog, just because it was the first thing available, really. Not the only thing available. It was the first thing. I just grabbed the first dog I could get.
Right.
But all growing up, I was obsessed with getting a dog. I went through a phase where I wanted a Labrador retriever because it could retrieve me box turtles. And then I went through a phase where I wanted a German Shepherd. And it was just a dream that I never, at that point in my life was able to fulfill. No matter how hard I tried, my dad just wouldn't let me have one. Well, One day, what was I? Probably 12 years old ish, give or take, about 12. I decided I want to decide on what my favorite dog is, because before age 12, it was just like a random whim. Why did I want a Labrador? Well, because I thought it could retrieve turtles. Why did I want a German Shepherd? Well, I thought it would like protect me from bullies. Like I didn't really put like a lot of thought into it. I just kind of picked a breed that was popular. So I was like, I want to make an educated decision on what my favorite breed is, rather than just this weird grasp onto whatever popular breed I happen to see, Mm-hmm. So there was a series of books at the library that had like each book was on a different breed. And they had, growing up with, I don't remember what the series was called, something like growing up with, or I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I'm guessing at this point, but it was such and such and such poodles, or such and such boxers, or German Shepherds, or Rottweilers, or just you name a breed, from a Chihuahua to a Great Dane. It was, if it was popular, obviously they couldn't have had all breeds. That would be a ridiculous library of books. But it was, I mean, it took up like a whole shelf at the library, and you'd go through, here's one on poodles, here's one on Shih Tzus, here's one on Labradors, and they just had an extensive library, and each book wasn't very big, but it was substantial. It wasn't just a pamphlet, it was a full book. And so I decided I was going to go through and I was going to read every book and decide which one was my favorite. And I think I did skip some, because I was like, I'm pretty sure it's not the Shih Tzu. I'm an outdoors guy. I'm pretty sure it's not a pug. I'm pretty sure I skipped through several breeds, but I did read ones that I really didn't like poodles. I was like, ew, poodles, ew, they're all frou-frou, and they bark. But I still pulled out the poodle book and I read it. I remember that one specifically. So I didn't immediately throw off certain breeds that I didn't like, but I'm pretty sure there were ones that I don't remember reading the Chihuahua book. I don't remember reading the really useless breed, but I did read some that I didn't like. Like I said, like the poodle. I actually did not want a poodle, but I made myself read it. And my opinion kind of softened on poodle after reading it. I was like, well, I guess they do have some jobs and some cool things about them. Maybe I shouldn't be so harsh. Well, one of those, I didn't like them and thought they were stupid dogs in that list was the American Pit Bull Terrier. I remember vividly as a little kid watching Lady and the Tramp with some lady from church. I was at her house and my mom was friends with her, and we were watching Lady and the Tramp on her thing, and these mean, like blackish grayish colored dogs like attacked him in some alleyway. And I said, and I don't remember if I asked her or if she told me. Knowing me, I probably asked, because I always ask questions. What's that? What's this? So I probably asked her, what are those dogs? What are those mean dogs? And she said, those are pit bulls. Pit bulls are mean. And so I had from a very early, that was like at age 6 or 7 or 5 or something like that. I was very young. So from a very early age, I had it in my head. Pit bulls are mean. Pit bulls are bad. Pit bulls kill people. So when I saw that book, I was like, well, I know I don't want pit bulls, but I read the stupid poodle book. So I'm going to read this one anyway. So I opened the book, and the first like little introductory paragraph, they're talking about pit bulls, and they say, pit bulls get a bad rap. People say they're mean, but really they love children and they're good with people. And I shut the book. I was like, if you're going to lie to me in the first paragraph, I'm not going to read this bull crap. And I put the book back on the shelf and went to golden retrievers or something else, And I was done. I wasn't going to read. If you're going to lie to me in the first paragraph, I'm not going to read it. And I put the book back on the shelf. Well, my neighbor, I used to go and play with the dogs in the neighborhood because I didn't have my own dog. So whatever dog happened to live closest to my home, I would go and play with it. Whether I was playing with it through the fence or knocking on the neighbor's door and saying, can I play with your dog? Or if I had a friend who had a dog, I would like want to go sleep over at their house or play at their house all the time so I could play with their dog. I was that obsessed with it. Well, my very next door neighbor got a pit bull puppy. And I was like, oh, why do they do that? That dog's going to grow up mean and it's going to kill people. And I've got to live next to it. And, all these negative things going through my mind. It was just a cute little innocent puppy. And I saw it like tugging on their coat sleeves. I'm like, see, look, it's going to be vicious. Well, I was kind of stuck because none of my other neighbors close by had a dog. And here was the only dog like close and convenient that I could play with. And well, my greater love for animals and dogs specifically overwhelmed my prejudice. And I started, if you were to say like a racist, let's pretend I was like a Ku Klux Klan white supremacy, and the black kid lives next door and he's the only kid I have to play with. So all of a sudden I have to give up my prejudices and start playing with the kid.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah.
Well, I guess he's one of the good ones, right? That was basically what I was like. I was very prejudiced. This is an evil dog. It's going to be bad. But I don't have anyone else to play with, so I'm going to go play with little Jimmy down the street anyway, even though I'm racist. That's how I was with this dog. And so I started playing with this dog, and little by little, my heart softened more and more. Well, maybe there's more than just this dog that's nice. And I started to, and eventually he became my favorite dog. His name was Jake, and he was a brindle and white, kind of like a Colby looking dog, brindle and white. I don't know what he was bred like. He might not even been a pit bull. He might have been some bully or whatever. But back then, bullies were not a thing. This is back in the 90s. So bullies were like very uncommon. So it was more likely to be a pit bull than a bully back then. In my eyes, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there were more bullies than I realized, and I thought they were pit bulls. Who knows, right? But anyway, it looked like a pit bull. They called it a pit bull. So in my eyes, it was a pit bull. Anyway, so I started playing with Jake the pit bull. And as time went on, I liked him more and more. And it was really funny because I would go knock on their door. I didn't play with any of their kids or like any of their kids. They were kind of mean. But I'd go in their backyard. Hey, can I go play with your dog? Okay. Weird neighbor kid, go in the backyard. And I'd go play with their dog. And I'd play fetch with it. And I taught him to release. And I taught him to sit. And I taught him to come. And I was so proud of myself because that dog wouldn't listen to his owners. He didn't even know his name when they started calling him. But I'd tell him, sit, come, drop it. Bring it here, and he'd do all these things for me. And I'm just a little kid, like I said, around 12-ish years old. Yeah. And I was like, man, this dog's really cool. Maybe I should go check out that book at the library. maybe I'm the one that's wrong. And so I went and I gave the book a second chance and I pulled it off the shelf. I'm like, okay, well, that's what they say. And that's what Jake's like. And this is what they say. And yeah, well, that's what Jake's like. By the time I got done with the book, I had a total change of heart.
Right.
And I was like, well, if Jake's just like they describe in this book, maybe it's me that's wrong and the book that's right. Because I have a real life breathing example of a dog who fits everything they described in this book. I guess I'm wrong. So from that point, I did a complete 180 and it became my favorite breed. I decided after reading all those books that pit bulls were my favorite breed. And then I became obsessed with them. And I read every pit bull book I could find. And every time I saw a dog that even looked remotely pit bull-like, I'm like, looking out the window at it if we're driving by in the car, or I found a dog, on the way to school that looked like a pit bull, and I'd go and like bring it treats. So and have them in my pocket or backpack or whatever. And when I walked past, I'd feed the dog and then keep going to school. And I just became obsessed with it. And I really wanted a pit bull, but my dad wouldn't let me have any dog, but especially not a pit bull. He's like, we're going to get a dog. That's the last dog we're ever getting.
Yeah.
And anyway, so when I moved out, my grandfather said the same thing. You can have a collie, you can have a whatever dog you want, but you can't have a pit bull because they'll kill livestock and they'll kill other dogs, and we're not going to have it. And so I was like, well, I'll train it not to, because I knew he actually had a valid point. My dad didn't. The whole it's going to attack people thing is not, I mean, it's possible. Sure, they're man biters, but it's not a common issue with the breed.
Right.
And but with my grandpa, he did have a valid point. They do have a problem with hurting cattle,
dogs, yeah.
fighting other dogs.
Yeah.
But I was like, Grandpa, I'll keep it under control, and I'll train it not to. And he's like, no, we're not doing that.
Right.
Well, so I got the first dog I could, which was a collie. Trained it to work cattle. Tried to train it to hunt, but it didn't really like hunting. It liked chasing stuff, but it wouldn't kill anything, and it had a really poor nose, or at least desire to use its nose, I should say. Wouldn't track, wouldn't locate. But if he saw something, he'd chase it. And so we had a lot of fun chasing whatever he saw. Then one day, a random dog showed up on the farm that looked like a pit bull. I obviously don't know what it was, but it looked pit bull-like. And I just immediately adopted it. And I started feeding it and taking care of it, putting it in the kennel so it wouldn't get lost. And my grandpa was like, okay, he wasn't happy with it, but he didn't tell me I had to get rid of it.
Right.
So I started hunting those two dogs together, this bully looking pit bull, whatever it was, and this collie. And they worked out great because the pit bull didn't see very well. And if there was something off in the distance very far, it wouldn't notice it or see it. But he had a really good nose. She had a really good nose and would track things. And I taught her to. I did all the things I tried with my collie, but the collie refused to pick up. She picked it up really quick. We'd kill an animal, and we'd drag it out in the field, and she'd follow the scent really quickly. Figured out, if I follow the scent, I get to find it again. And so she picked it up where the collie wouldn't. So she was the nose and the muscle, and he was the speed. She also wasn't very fast. She was more of a bulky, not like bully bulky, but she wasn't an athletic pit bull. She was rather stocky, wide chest kind of dog. And he was a really quick collie. He was well above average. So the collie would run it down and grab it on the butt and make whatever it was turn around and fight him, and then the bulldog would come flying in and kill it. And that was kind of there. So the bulldog would track it down. The collie would see it running up ahead. He would turn it around, and the bulldog would catch up eventually and kill it. And that was kind of the little team I had going.
Oh, that's what's up. So what does the team look like now when you're going out on extermination or hunts? I'll say, what dogs do you prefer?
So when I got into the mink, I didn't have any dogs at the time. I love dogs, and I'd had a couple, but I didn't have any dogs myself at the time. But I had a buddy who did have a dog, and he would bring it along. And I found that the mink and the dogs working together were far more useful than just the mink by itself or just a dog by itself. because the dog could cover country, catch things that are running fast, smell stuff and say, hey, there's something here, but he couldn't get down a hole. The mink could get down the hole and cause whatever it is, a rabbit or rat or whatever, to scatter out of the hole. But once he run out of the hole, he wasn't very quick running across open ground, but the dog was. And so we'd use the mink and the dog together to go catch rabbits or rats or squirrels or whatever it was we were hunting. And they really complemented each other very well because the strengths of the mink were the weaknesses of the dog and vice versa. So I learned that concept because of my buddy Cade and his dog, Carl. Well, once I saw how beneficial it was to have both working together, I was like, man, I really need to get my own dog. So I went and I got it in my head that I wanted, because there was we did a lot of rabbit hunting at the time, because it was mostly hunting for fun. And this was not a business at all. It was just pure pleasure at that time, with occasional, like I said, barely breaking even income coming in.
Right.
And so I was like, oh man, this bunny hunting's a blast. I really want to get a fast dog to catch those bunnies when my mink bolts them. But I also want a dog that could tell me when there's bunnies hiding where. Like, hey, there's bunny in this hole, or there's a bunny in this pile of wood or pile of rocks or whatever. So I didn't want just a sight hound. I wanted a dog that could use its nose and its eyes and its speed together. So I got a lurcher, and what I got was which a lurcher is the cross between some type of sight hound, like a whippet or a greyhound or a Saluki, something like that. A pure sight hound crossed with some other working breed. One of the most common crosses is what they call a collie lurcher. So like a border collie crossed with a greyhound, for example. And the greyhound adds, a lot of speed, a lot of prey drive. The collie adds more durability, more intelligence, trainability. Or they could do like a bull lurcher is another common cross. They'll cross like a whippet, for example, with a pit bull. And the whippet adds a lot of speed to the pit bull, who's not very fast. But the pit bull adds a lot of grit, determination, toughness, things like that. So anyway, I wanted nose. So obviously I didn't go with a bull lurcher or a collie lurcher. I went with a pointer lurcher. So it was mostly greyhound and a little bit of pointer. And the idea was the dog would locate muskrats or rats or rabbits. And then when the mink bolted them, if they escaped the mink, the dog would then run them down and catch them. So that's what I did. Got that dog. Her name was Onsa. She was awesome. And she was a lot of fun. But, being a big, fast dog, she wasn't very good at tight places, squeezing in tight little holes or tight little areas, running under farm equipment, things like that. I mean, she's just horrible. Right. Big old long lurpy dog. So I ended up getting a little terrier and adding it to the mix. And that's when I realized the true value. I basically had 3 different categories. We had the big, tall, fast dog, the little tiny, squeeze it in the tight places, gritty little terrier dog, and then the mink to get in the really tight places where the rats,
right,
where neither dog could fit.
And all of them are fast for the most part.
Yeah, so even the terrier you want as athletic as you can get it.
Right.
Which isn't very athletic because they're a terrier, but rather than a short-legged terrier, you want a longer-legged, quicker, athletic type terrier for catching rats, rather than a shorter-legged, awkward, chunky terrier. And so, yeah, that became my go-to. Is I had a fast dog and I had a little dog, and they'd work together in tandem along with the mink. Well, I also started doing some raccoon pest control at the time. And I found that when you send a terrier down a hole after a raccoon, they just don't have the punch necessary to handle a raccoon by themselves.
Right.
And anyone who tells you otherwise, they don't hunt. They get online, they read stories of other liars, and then they share their own lies. And everyone says, oh, everyone's got a terrier that just blows through raccoons left and right when you're on the internet. But when you go out in the field, nobody has a terrier that blows through raccoons left and right. And I've been hunting with people from all over the country with all different types of terriers. And it's nothing against the terrier. It's just the fact of the matter that a raccoon is a
raccoon
lot of
can fight like hell. Yeah.
They're a lot of animal. And
Yeah.
can you get terriers that can kill raccoons? Sure. But then the terrier, if it's successful, is now laid up for weeks or months. I mean, it's a hard ordeal for a small dog to pull off on its own.
Yeah.
But a big old lurcher, I mean, my lurcher killed coons without hurting herself. She was surprisingly gritty. And but she wasn't able to get down in the tight places that the raccoons often ended up, in thick brush, down under decks, in pipes, in beaver holes, and all these different little places that raccoons get into. She couldn't fit, and in her case didn't really want to fit either. She was claustrophobic, like a typical sighthound, did not like tight places.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I need something that's more oomph than a terrier, but small enough to fit. And my buddies, they had what they did was they got pit bull, game bred pit bulls crossed with Patterdales, and they had this in between, and they liked those. And I saw that and was like, that's a good idea, but why not just get a pit bull that size? Why water down the pit bull with the terrier blood? Like, no offense to terriers.
Yeah. So what do you mean? What weight you talking about? Around 30 pounds?
Yeah, a little under 30s. You know,
Okay.
Mid 50 or just 50s. Wow. Mid 20s up to like low 30s.
Right.
And I'm like, it's well within reason to get a purebred, game bred pit bull that's the exact same size, that mid 20s to low 30s. Now, it's not easy. It's not like they're everywhere, but they're not like so rare that you can't find them.
Mm-hmm.
And so my thought process was, well, why don't I just get a smaller pit bull instead of watering it down with a terrier? And I'm like, maybe it's a dumb idea. Maybe there's a reason why they don't do that, but I want to try it. And so I went on a mission to get the best, smallest pit bull I could find. I ended up going down to Texas, where they've got a lot of bulldog activities down by the border. And I got one that was supposedly bred real well. He came off of a champion, brought him home. Oh, he had some problems. He had like thin skin and this and that, the other, and it didn't work out. And I was like, darn. Well, I tried it once. I kind of liked the dog, but it wasn't quite it. So I took it back and I was like, well, maybe this guy that I got him from wasn't as serious as I thought, because I actually tried another dog related to him. And I was like, geez, he's got the same problems he has. I'm like, okay, let's go for a totally different line, totally different person, and see what I can find. So anyway, I eventually, long story short, ended up with Bindi. She's the little red pit bull that I have now. And she's a little bigger than I was hoping for. She's about 35, 36 pounds. I guess 30, 34 if you really got her slimmed down. Probably more like 34 and a half if you got her real trim and empty. But yeah, she's not a big dog, but she was a little bigger than I was hoping for. I was hoping down low 30s or preferably under 30 pounds. Mm-hmm. But anyway, best bred dog I could get my hands on. Got her as a little puppy, raised her up. And I found out, man, not only is she good handy raccoon dog, but man, she is a phenomenal ratting dog. Way better than I expected. Mm-hmm. The one thing I wasn't even really focused on, ended up getting in spades, is her intelligence. And one of the things you'll find if you work with bull breeds or terrier breeds is they tend to be quite stubborn, and they tend to be painfully stupid. They just don't think. They just act. Oh, I see something. Go, 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 go. No thought process. Just go.
No self-preservation sometimes.
Even regardless of self-preservation, you get a timid terrier that has lots of self-preservation. He has lots of self-preservation and still no brain. He's still he's timidly stupid. Like, or you get a boldly stupid, or you get an in-between stupid. They're all just stupid. And now I'm sure there are exceptions. I have no doubt. I've seen a terrier once online that is clearly a very intelligent dog. So there's exceptions for every rule, but everyone that I've ever seen with my own two eyes is dumber than a post, whether it be a terrier or a bull breed. And so I wasn't really expecting my pit bull to be that smart. I thought she'd be smarter than they were. I hoped, at least, but I didn't expect her to be a freaking genius that she is. And she ended up being shockingly intelligent. So much so, I had a Malinois for a time. Well, a Dutchie, but a KMPV bred Malinois. So
Right.
Dutchie color Malinois genetics for the most part. And she wasn't as clever as my bulldog. She was easier to train. She was more biddable. She was more focused on figuring out what I wanted her to learn. Yes, definitely. Not by a lot, but clearly easier to train than Bindi, my pit bull. But she couldn't think on her own and plan on her own as well as Bindi. She's a lot smarter than my other dogs. I'm not saying she was dumb, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
But compared to Bindi, Bindi had a noticeable step above her when it came to just thinking on your feet, planning on your own, working independently, intelligence. And she'd do things like for example, a rat comes out of a hole. What does a terrier do? Or most bull breeds? They go for it. Bam! Yeah. They slam their head into the wall, and the rat just takes one step backwards, and he's down in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
Bindi sees that rat coming out, and she says, "Ooh, that rat sees me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to wait."
Yeah.
And I'm going to wait. And the rat takes a step. And the rat takes another step. And then the rat runs for it. And bam! Then she slams it. Because she knows, hey, he's committed to leaving. I'm going to get between him and the hole and catch it. Whereas a terrier, they don't even wait till the rat pulls his head out. They stick their head in their nose in the hole, and they do it over and over and over again for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. This dog's been ratting for 7 years. She still does the same dumb thing over and over and over again. And Bindi, within like her second ratting, had it figured out. Oh, that's not a very productive way to do this. Let's step back and let the rat come out of the hole on its own, and then we'll catch it.
Right.
And things like that. She figured out, like, she was smart the first day she went ratting. I mean, like it didn't take a year for her to figure out. She had it figured out like day one. By the end of the day, she's like, that tactic doesn't work. Let's try something different. And it was really a surprisingly unexpected benefit. And she was also much quicker than I expected her to be. I mean, she's a bulky, muscly looking little thing, but off the line, man, she'll out move, not outrun, not even close, but she'll out move most of the lurchers she works with, because just off the line speed, her little fast twitch muscle, short legs, I don't know what it is, she'll snatch that rat before they do. Now,
and no problems with aggression with the team or nothing like that?
No, not at all. Not at all. I made it very clear from an early age. That's the other thing. So believe it or not, and I've gone through quite a few game bred pit bulls. I don't know what number I'm at, like 6 or something. Different lines. Some of them coming straight off of champions. Like very, very game bred dogs. Not these like, oh, well, his great grandpa did something. No, like mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, all of them did stuff. And I've found that unlike terriers and most bull breeds, they are very biddable. They want to do what you want them to do.
They want to please you.
They want to please you. They're very, very biddable. And if you make it very clear, hey, you cannot do X, but you get to do all of the Y that you want. Every dog I've had so far says, okay, boss, I will not do X. I won't kill the sheep. I won't kill your chickens. I won't kill the mink. I won't fight the other dogs. And I'll kill rats and raccoons all day long. And I haven't had a problem yet, which doesn't make sense. It makes no sense at all. Why? But because I can't say the same thing about my terriers. I think every terrier I've ever owned has tried to kill another dog.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that I have a terrier. I'm sure. No. That's not true. The 2 I own right now, they've never done it. But like leading up to the 2 I've owned, I think every single one has tried to kill another dog at some point. Like just absolute full on real intent. Like one of them in particular, I literally opened the truck just in time to save the life of the other one. Like she had him by the throat, and it was down, and it was done. And I can't say the same. I've even had more problems with lurchers, not even that spunky of a bloodline, trying to kill other dogs more than the bulldogs, which makes no sense at all. And everyone who's listening says, he probably got some fake bulldogs, Look at the pedigrees and tell me they're fake. If you think they're fake, I tried to get the best I could, and I just haven't had a problem yet. Now I guarantee you, one day I'll be eating my words. Guarantee you, it has to happen, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, yeah. I notice it just depends too. I got a few alibi around here, and they like to fight. They love to fight. They really love to fight. Um, when you rolling up on a property, or maybe to say like a farm like setting, what is the system you kind of incorporate when you're approaching a job?
So first thing I like to do is try and get as much information as I can before I show up. So send me pictures, send me videos, answer all these questions. And then once I've gotten all that, I say, okay, I feel like I could probably do the job, because there's certain jobs I just don't want to do, or don't feel like I can help. And I'll tell them that. I'm like, I don't think I can help in your situation. I'm sorry. Here's some free advice. Good luck. Sorry. And then there's other situations I could help, but I'm like, I don't want to do that. That just sounds dangerous for my animals. Sorry, no thanks. But most situations, I would say the overwhelming majority, I say, oh yeah, I think I could do that. Let me show up and try. And most of the time I get it done. It's almost, it's a real disappointment when it doesn't work out. Which of course it happens from time to time. But most of the time we come in, we either dramatically improve or completely remove the problem. Obviously rarely is it forever. You know, eventually some rat's going to probably move in on their own. If they got there at one point, they'll find a way to get back.
Oh yeah, of course.
But I've got multiple clients with huge infestations that it took 3, 4, 5 years for the infestation to come back. So it's not like it's a few weeks or a few months. We're talking multiple years. And small infestations move back in easier than big infestations, right? Because all it takes is one female to produce 13 rats, right?
Right.
But to make 130 rats or 1,300 rats, I mean, that takes a lot of breeding and a lot of time. So these little tiny infestations where they're like, yeah, I've got a dozen rats. Yeah, that's probably once every 6 months to a year, it's just going to happen again. So if you're in a bad place where rats could easily move back in,
right.
It's every 6 months to a year, or maybe year and a half, you're going to probably need me back. If it's a big, like, hey, I've got, 1,000 rats. Once I get that under control, you probably need me back in 4 or 5 years.
So a place like with 1,000 rats, what kind of environment are we looking at then?
So it almost seems to always be poultry. One instance it wasn't. It was big grain silos that had popped open.
Oh yeah.
There's my biggest one ever. It was a grain silo that was old and had broken, and they couldn't. There's no point in getting the grain out. It would have been big, expensive, dangerous mess. So they just left it. And the silo's just infinite source of food. The rats go in there, eat all they want. And then they had some older buildings full of just some junk and storage and stuff. So the rats had homes to live in, food to eat, and they just reproduced like crazy. We got just under 1,500 rats in 5 days on that location.
What?
But most of them tend to be some type of poultry, like a pheasant farm or a big chicken coop, something like that.
Right.
Those are the most common situations. Another common one that I don't like to deal with as much because it's more difficult are like cattle farms where they're feeding at a feedlot of some sort. Those are more difficult because they often have cement slabs for the cattle to step on, so they're not sloshing down in the mud. And then if the rats are under the cement slabs, and those are the most difficult to deal with.
Oh, wow.
And dangerous, because if we can lift them up, then I've got a big liability. A dog can get crushed. I can get crushed. Like, it's scary, but sometimes we just have to do it.
Right.
And just take every precaution possible.
Yeah. I heard you say somewhere too that before you go out there, you kind of ask questions like, what have you done already to fix this problem? Because if it's been any poison out there, you can't send your dogs out there at all. And it was a powdered poison you talk about. I don't remember the name of it, but what was it? What was it?
Tracking powder.
Tracking powder.
That stuff is horrible. And there's a possibility I'm using the wrong term. So I am not an expert on those products, but I believe it's called tracking powder, or at least someone said to me that's what it's called. And it's a powder that they puff into their burrows or spread where they travel. And when the rats walk across it and get on their cells, they groom, and then they eat it and die. And you can imagine how many untargeted animals are dying from that. Raccoon walks across the same thing. Not that I feel too bad about raccoons. They're usually overpopulated and causing problems too. But you get what I'm saying. Some other animal or a hawk eats the rat covered.
Yeah, it become an ecosystem problem then. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Or I mean, I don't know the exact compound or how it works, but what if a dog sticks his nose in that hole and takes a big whiff, snorts all that powder? I can't see that being healthy for the dog.
No.
So yeah, that's my biggest fear is poisons, and so that's always something I'm always concerned about. And if they've used any kind of poison, I want to find out what it is, how recently, how was it put out, is it something reasonable to clean up? You know, those are all the kind of questions I end up asking.
Right.
And even doing that, you'll show up and find poison in the middle of a job, and you're just like,
oh, yeah, didn't tell me.
One job we drove like an hour or two to get there. And the day before we got there, a neighbor took a bag full of poison pellets and poured it on the property line. And it was following under their fence into their chicken coop.
Wow.
And it was fortunately bright neon blue. And I immediately saw it and said, there's poison here. Like, oh no, it must have been the neighbors. And there was dying poisoned rats all over the place. And
what?
I'm like, dude, I don't even want my animals to get out of the truck. I cannot do this job. And they're like, well, is there something you can do? I'm like, well, I'll do my best. And I caught the rats by hand. No joke. I caught 103 or whatever it was. It was over 100, 130, 110. I don't know what the number was. It was over 100 rats all by hand in the same day.
How you that fast?
Apparently, I didn't know I was. I've caught rats, obviously. If you watch any of my videos, you'll see me catching rats. But I didn't know I could do it totally by myself. And it was just that certain circumstance it worked. I wouldn't say in most circumstances I can't catch anything. But in that particular job, it just so happened to be lucky that it was such a setup to where it was open enough, the rats couldn't escape, and I caught 100 and whatever rats by hand at the end of the day. And none of my animals left the truck.
Right.
But that's the one and only job I can point to like that. Usually I just turn around and say, sorry, we're going home. But he was really like desperate for my help. And I'd already driven like 2 hours, and I had like a couple helpers with me. And I was like, hey, drove all the way up here. Okay, let me see what I could do. And to my surprise, I was just as shocked as they were. I got the job done for the most part.
Right.
I mean, we lost more rats than we should have.
Yeah.
But I got most of them, and I didn't use anything other than my hands, you know.
Yeah. When you coming out on those jobs, right? I mean, do you kind of under promise, over deliver?
I try to, yeah. I try and tell them, hey, you know, I'll do my best. I could possibly get it done in one day, but there's a real good chance I'll have to come back, blah, blah, blah. And then it's almost always done in one day. Unless it's one of those huge jobs, and then it's like, then I'm like, hey, I might be able to get it done in 1 week. I don't know. I'll do my best. And here's the concern. If my dogs break down, they step on something, they run into something, they just get tired, we're going to have to quit, and there's nothing we can do about it. So we'll work until the dogs are done.
Right.
And most of the time, the job's done before they're done. And there might be a couple dogs that get laid up and have to be put away. You know, the last job I just did, I traveled out of state, and one of my little terriers gave out way before the job was done, and she slept for a whole day and then came out the last day. But I probably should have left her. Probably should have left her in both those days. But anyway,
yeah.
But Bindi, my pit bull, and my other terrier, they were fine. They stuck with it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm about to wrap this up. But for as your line of minks, how does the future look as far as the breeding? How many, you know, what is your breeding program like for as the minks? How many you have?
So I basically keep as few as I can get away with, which right now I have 13, and I think I probably downsized a little too much. I've had as many as 30, but that's too many.
But you keep them in cages, and they are escape artists, right?
Yeah. I've got great big walk-in enclosures, so they're kind of like the size of, like, I don't know, like a big dog run or a big chicken coop.
Okay.
They're let me see if I can remember the measurements. They're about 5-6 feet wide, 5-6 feet. They're 6 feet tall at the shortest point, 10 feet tall at the tallest point, because it goes into a barn where it then lifts up really high. So at the shortest point, it's 6 feet tall, and then down in the end where the barn is, it's 10 feet tall. The width is like between 5 and 6 feet. It's more than 5, less than 6. I don't remember exactly.
Got plenty of room in that trunk, yeah.
And then the length is, what is the length? It's like 30 feet or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Because it's the barn is 12 feet wide, I think. And then the run is like 20 feet or something. I don't know. So something like 32 feet. I can't remember. But yeah, it's real big. It's bigger than most dog kennels.
Yeah, it's big. Yeah, it is.
And then I've got a row of them. So I have a whole. They're like one right after another, and they're double wired, so the mink can't pull each other's tongues through the wire or pull their feet off. Whatever. They're really mean. They'll fight right through the wire. It's just like putting two game bulldogs next to each other.
Right there together. Yeah.
You have to have a gap, or better yet, a solid wall.
Yeah.
But I didn't do a solid wall. I just did a gap between the wire. There's a 2-inch gap. And it's little thin mesh. It's 1 by 1.5 inch, so they can't like stick a paw through or anything.
Yeah.
And then the same with the gates, so little kids can't stick their fingers through and get their fingers pulled off.
Oh, gotcha.
And so it's just a big row of these big old giant enclosures, and each mink has its own enclosure, unless they're a baby. The immature mink can stay together until a little before their first birthday. Usually, sometimes they get fighting early, and I got to separate them young, but usually they'll last till a little before their first birthday, and then all heck breaks loose, and I got to break them up. But I've had them much earlier, 4 months old, 5 months old, where they're scrapping really hard, and I got to separate them. So it just depends on that litter.
Right. Okay, man. I really appreciate you coming. Are you doing any falcon work anymore?
No, I got out of falconry when I got into mink, pretty much.
Okay.
I did both I really never did both at the same time. Now I think about it. I was a practicing falconer while I was learning how to train mink and work with them, but I wasn't hunting anything with the mink.
Yeah.
And then once I got hunting with the mink, I didn't pick falconry up, and I just kind of transitioned over. Right, so it's been many, many years, 20 plus years since I flew a hawk.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And I go out with falconers, and I'll show up at little falconry meets and stuff, and I converse with falconers, and I'll go, but I don't like do it on a regular. It's like a couple times a year I go get my falconry fix with somebody. I've even kind of helped people. There was one guy that was a young new falconer learning, and I went out with him for like a couple times a week for a couple months and helped him get his bird going. But usually no, it's just like once or twice a year, and that's about it.
Gotcha.
And never my own bird. I don't have a license or anything. I'd have to renew my license.
Right. I got you. Well, man, I appreciate you coming to my show. Besides the YouTube channel, which, man, I think you got 1 million followers. There's a lot of people.
It's like, I think it's 1.5.
Yeah, it's up there, man. Yeah. Where else any other media they can find you, or people that need your services?
Yeah, so I've got an exclusive club that's quite interesting. So YouTube, most people are aware, they're very I don't know how you want to put it.
Tight what?
Yeah, they're very liberal. They're it's based out of California, and they're in their little liberal bubble, and they can't comprehend anything outside of their bubble. Everything outside of their bubble is evil and wrong and needs to change and be
That's
like
why a lot of Californians moving to Arkansas.
Yeah. And they hi sweet girl. Can you go shut the door? I'm doing a meeting. Oh, you want to say hi? Oh.
Well, hello.
Oh, you scared me.
Yeah, I'm doing a video. Or doing an interview. Can you go? And I'll talk to you in a minute. Love you.
We're doing a dance with Dad.
Okay, you go do a dance, okay?
Hey, I love the way daughters can turn their dads into mud.
Oh, they sure do. And I got all daughters, so I'm
you
all
do?
mud.
Oh man, I got one. She just runs all over me.
So I've got so because of YouTube's policies, which are extremely inconsistent.
Mhm.
So here's the scary thing about YouTube. If
because you hunting. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're so inconsistent. Here's one example to show you how crazy they can get, and they swing back and forth.
Yeah.
They're not like always this way. They're like sometimes they're super left, and sometimes they are like almost center, and then they go super left. They never quite make it to the center, right? There was a point on YouTube, believe it or not, where they were demonetizing cooking shows because they were displaying raw meat.
Oh.
No joke. You couldn't show a steak until it was cooked. And now the cooked steak's cooked, you're permitted to look at it. Oh, it's raw. We're going to demonetize you. Like they were that crazy at one point. And then obviously they've backed off.
Right.
We're in a Trump era, whether you love or hate Trump. They've shifted much closer to the center because they realize we went a little crazy with the whole blurring out steaks and hamburgers, right?
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, because like we did an interview. They invited me on with the Calgary group, and it's this group that just fight legislations against dog breeders, people having animals, all over stuff we don't even know that they pushing for.
Yeah,
and it's this dedicated group of lawyers trying to stop this crazy legislation.
Yeah. They're bonkers. They're absolutely bonkers. And most people, whether they're on the left or the right, can't even comprehend how crazy these people are.
Yeah,
and you never know how far they're going to swing which direction. Well, we always know they're never going to hit the center. They're always going to be left because they're in California. They don't have, they probably have like 2 Christians in their whole company. You know what I mean? Like they're just not. They're not the normal average American, left or right, right? There's very average Democrats and very average Republicans. Yeah. They are like crazy left. Anyway, so the thing is regardless of what you put on YouTube, your channel will be part of how they what they determine to do. It's not consistent. So I could put up a video of killing 1,000 rats in a day. Well, maybe that's a ridiculous number. I've never done 1,000 in a day. 100 rats in a day, right? And I could lay their bodies out on the ground, and I could do a selfie with the bodies and show you the dead body and throw it in a bucket and show you the bucket of dead bodies. I've never been demonetized for that. But Mousetrap Monday catches one little mouse in one little trap and doesn't blur it out, and he gets not just demonetized, he gets like strikes on his channel. Why is it I can lay on a bed of 250 dead rats and he can't show one dead mouse?
Wow.
So for me, I can do certain things. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. I have no idea that he can't do. But other people can do things that I can't do. For example, if I try to upload a raccoon hunting video, don't even show it. Just upload it. Before it's finished uploading, this thing pops up. This video was not approved. You cannot show this. You get a strike on your channel. It wasn't even public. It wasn't even finished uploading. Well, it must have finished just enough, right?
Right.
But like I never saw it as finished. In my view, it was never finished because they took it off and it was gone. And it wasn't on my it wasn't on my page. I just had this big check mark. You're not allowed to upload this. So, but guess what? Go type in dog versus raccoon into YouTube. You can find plenty of videos of someone's fat bully killing a raccoon in their backyard or their coon dog and ripping them apart. Like maybe not the most graphic of videos, but there's plenty of videos out there of dogs killing raccoons. But I, for some reason, can't even upload it, let alone show it. Just like Mousetrap Monday can't show one mouse, but I could show 100 rats. So anyway, my point is YouTube's extremely inconsistent with what they do with who and when and why. So there are a lot of things that I can't show on my channel that I do all the time. Like I mentioned, just the other night, went out with Bindi. We caught 3 raccoons. Absolutely none of that footage will ever appear on YouTube. And so I have my exclusive club just for videos like that. Like I have videos of spearing beavers. We'll chase a beaver out with one of my little terriers. I'll put it down the hole. They'll go in the beaver hole, chase the beaver out. It comes out into the water, and then I spear it. Can't show that on YouTube. My mink will catch a bunny and kill a bunny. Can't show that on YouTube. Squirrels. I have that's a hit and miss. I have some videos of squirrels, but most of them can't put it on YouTube. So it's extremely hit and miss what I can do. So I have that club specifically so I can show whatever I want.
Where's the club at?
So at the link, there's a link at the bottom of every video that I post that's even been remotely recent. I guess if you go back far enough, one of my really old videos won't have it from years and years ago. Okay. But one of my somewhat, when I say recent, I'm talking like in the last 3 years, like
right.
So not that recent. There'll be a link at the bottom. It says to my exclusive club. You click on that. It's a subscription-based platform. Okay. So they'll pay a subscription, and then they can see all the videos that I post. And so
yeah,
I'll post the stuff that YouTube won't allow on there. I'll post behind-the-scenes stuff that I just don't feel comfortable the general public knowing. So like some training methods and, things like that. I'm like, I don't want you guys to know this. Yeah. And I'm not being stingy. I just don't want all the hate. Like, right?
Yeah. Certain things you show will get the hate. Yeah.
And then some of the stuff's just personal. Like I just don't want 100,000 people to see this. I only want the like 500, or not even 5. I think it's like 300 subscribers, whatever that number is. Yeah. I only want them to see it. And so I'll post something, family oriented, or maybe a mishap. Oh man, my mink got hurt today. I don't want YouTube to know it. They're all going to freak out that he got hurt, but I'll tell you guys about it. And here he is, going through the healing process.
Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Or whatever, some animal dies.
Yeah.
Some animal dies.
Yeah.
Man, YouTube's brutal. Every time something bad happens, oh, didn't you just barely lose a dog? Dude, that was 5 years ago. Yeah, but it died the same way. It was unrelated. Oh, yeah, but like everyone's just brutal on you. And I don't want to deal with that. Right after I just lost an animal, I don't want to deal with that. I do that to myself. I don't need you to do it to me.
That's right.
So I'll show it on my club, and then like 6 months or a year later, I might tell YouTube because they keep asking, hey, where'd that one dog go? Or where'd that one mink go? And finally, I'm like, okay, I'll finally tell you guys, it's not a sore spot anymore. I've had time to move on. I'm not so sensitive. Now you guys can know. Let everyone start bashing me for being a horrible, irresponsible owner. There you go.
Yeah.
But like my club's known it for 6 months. So, yeah.
Makes sense, man. You have to make adjustments in this world because it is ultra sensitive right now. So yeah. But Brother Joseph, man, thank you so much. You came right in the house and went to work with me. I appreciate it. You're welcome to come back anytime, brother.
Yeah, glad it worked out.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, have yourself a good one.
All righty, you too. Take care.
All right, brother.